Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out from Ukraine to share with you. We have reports that Ukraine is once again retreating on the eastern side of their country, now this time near Chasiv Yar, and I've talked a lot about this city. It's a very key city for the Russians to take, and Ukraine is trying really hard to hold on to this city, and they've been fighting for it for well over a year now, basically since Bakhmut was taken. So the northeastern portion of Chasiv Yar is closest to Bakhmut, and this is the picture of it right here. This is called the Canal. It's a micro district in Chasiv Yar, and it's been completely leveled. And as far as I know, these buildings may even be gone more than what we're seeing here in this snapshot. So the Russians have been destroying this area, and the Ukrainians had nowhere to hide, so they had to pull back closer to central Chasiv Yar. So the Russians are pushing forward once again. Ukraine is losing more land, and this is getting worse and worse for them by the day. I've got a map here we're going to take a look at, and then also some more photos of this region to kind of show you how much of northeastern Chasiv Yar has been destroyed here. So again, the Ukrainians are on the back pedal here, and they're having to fall back away from this region. And if Chasiv Yar ever falls to the Russians, it's going to be a big problem for eastern Ukraine. There's multiple other big cities nearby that are at risk if Chasiv Yar falls. So let me show you this here on a map real quick. So it's going to be on the eastern side of Ukraine over here near the Donetsk region. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in. Here's Chasiv Yar right here. So this northeastern portion over here, all this right here, this land, is that picture we were just looking at, okay? So this is completely destroyed now. Most of this is all leveled to the ground, and the Ukrainians have had to pull back to, more central Chasiv Yar in this region right here. And it's really close to Bakhmut. Here's Bakhmut right here. This got taken well over a year ago from the Russians. And once they take Chasiv Yar, it's going to be very bad for Ukraine because there's lots of big cities over here. Okay, we have Kramatorsk. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And then we also have Sloviansk. Okay, so if the Russians end up getting control of Chasiv Yar here, this will give them a great advantage because Chasiv Yar is also elevated ground. So they'll have a good view of all these cities, and it'll make it very easy for them to strike and attack these other areas, and it'll give them a strategic advantage in this war. So this is obviously a very key town that's been talked a lot, even in mainstream media, and hopefully Ukraine never loses it. But as it looks right now, the Russians are starting to push in again to the northeastern section over here, and they're starting to push the Ukrainians out, or at least back into central Chasiv Yar. So very crazy news that we've been continuing to hear this from the Ukrainians for a long time now, that we hear slow advancements from the Russians. They don't move very quickly, but slowly but steadily they are taking more and more land away from Ukraine every single day the longer this war goes on. Despite all these weapons that are given to Ukraine, all the ammunition, the tanks, everything being given to Ukraine, it's not stopping the Russians from pushing in. So let me show you this here too as well. This is from the 24th Brigade on X. Chasiv Yar, hell on earth. The canal micro-district turned into a pile of ashes. This is what it looks like today. Such a landscape, which was once beyond imagination, has already become commonplace in the 2 years of the war. So a few pictures here. This was the picture that I showed you guys there in the beginning. So as you can see, majority of these buildings just completely destroyed. And as far as I know, Ukraine has had to pull back from these regions. They cannot hold this anymore. Here's some more pictures for you. Completely leveled. Looks like there may have been a church right here at one point. Completely gone. This is from all the Russian bombings, all the glide bombs. Okay, we're going to be going over a report here in just a moment too that says they dropped something like 130 glide bombs in this area. We can see look at all the holes. Okay, look at all the artillery shells that have been dropped here. Just completely destroyed. Okay, all the bombs that Russia's dropping here all the time. So there you go. As you can see, completely demolished. And that's exactly why Ukraine is having to fall back, because there's literally nothing to hide in there. There's clearly no cover, no nothing. So the Ukrainians are on the back pedal here once again, falling back inside of northeastern Chasiv Yar. So let's go over this report on AP. Ukraine's army retreats from positions as Russia gets closer to seizing strategically important town. And this just came out today. Ukraine's army has retreated from a neighborhood in outskirts of Chasiv Yar, a strategically important town in the eastern Donetsk region that has been reduced to rubble under a months-long Russian assault, military spokesperson said Thursday. Chasiv Yar is a short distance west of Bakhmut, which was captured by Russia last year after a bitter 10-month battle. For months, Russian forces have focused on capturing Chasiv Yar, a town which occupies an elevated location. Its fall would put nearby cities in jeopardy, compromise critical Ukrainian supply routes, and bring Russia closer to its stated aim of seizing the entire Donetsk region. So Russia's getting very close from taking the Donetsk region. And again, like it says here, it would compromise critical Ukrainian supply routes. It would make it difficult for them to hold this area. And obviously, nearby cities are going to be subject to being taken by the Russians as well. So the Ukrainian army retreated from a northeastern neighborhood in the town Nazar Voloshin. The spokesperson for the Kortitsia Ground Forces Formation told the Associated Press in a written message Thursday. Ukrainian defensive positions in the town were destroyed, he said, adding that there was a threat of serious casualties if troops remained in the area and Russia did not leave a single intact building. So see, they had nothing to hide in, no buildings, no nothing. Russia has completely destroyed all these buildings to the point where they've been leveled to the ground, and they would have a threat of serious casualties if they left their troops there, so they told them to pull out. Months of relentless Russian artillery strikes have devastated Chasiv Yar, with homes and municipal offices charred, and a town that once had a population of 12,000 has been left deserted. Ole Siriev, I don't know if I'm saying that right, commander of the 255th Assault Battalion, which has been based in the area for 6 months, said the Russian troops captured the neighborhood. They burned every building not already destroyed by the shelling. Siriev said Russia is deploying scorched earth tactics in an attempt to destroy anything which could be used as a military position in a bid to force troops to retreat. I regret that we are gradually losing territory, he said, speaking by phone from the Chasiv Yar area, but added, we cannot hold what is ruined. So they are losing more territory again, and he's admitting that. Russian troops outnumber Ukrainians 10-1 in the area, but Shiryev suggested that even with that ratio, they have not been able to make significant progress in the past 6 months of active fighting. The intensity of Russia's strikes on Ukraine's defensive line in the area of Chasiv Yar has increased over the last month, Voloshin said. In the past week alone, Voloshin said Russia has carried out nearly 1,300 strikes, fired nearly 130 glide bombs, and made 44 ground assaults. So look at that, 1,300 strikes, guys, 130 glide bombs, 44 ground assaults. So this area has been pounded like crazy by the Russians. Other Russian attacks in recent weeks have focused on capturing nearby settlements that would allow them to advance to Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. So these are those two big cities that I was showing you next to Chasiv Yar on the map, the biggest cities in the Ukrainian-controlled part of the Donetsk region. Ukrainian commanders in the area say their resources remain stretched, largely due to months-long gap in military assistance from the United States, which threw Ukraine's military onto the defensive. Shiryev, the assault battalion commander, said ammunition from its allies is arriving, but more slowly than needed by the army. We are determined to hold on to the end, said the commander, who has been fighting on the front line since the outbreak of the war. Elsewhere, Russia launched 22 drones over Ukraine the previous night, and nearly all of them were shot down, according to the Air Force's morning update. One hit a power infrastructure facility in the northern Chernihiv region, leaving nearly 6,000 customers without electricity, said the governor. Vyacheslav Chaus. Russia is continually targeting Ukraine's badly damaged energy infrastructure, resulting in hours of rolling blackouts across the country. Ukrainian officials have warned that the situation may worsen as winter approaches. So yes, clearly we've talked about that. Excuse me. We do know that the United States is going to be supplying something like $1.5 billion in aid to Ukraine to help rebuild their electric infrastructure grid. But obviously that's going to take time for that to get repaired. And in the meantime, we've been reporting that many times, rolling blackouts happening all over Ukraine from these Russian strikes. So very big problem for Ukraine. You know, we've been continuing to see this, that they keep falling back on the eastern side of their country. And as they may be holding out in the Kharkiv region, from what we were hearing, they are on the back pedal here in the eastern side of their country, primarily in the Donetsk region. And we also had Volodymyr Zelensky and Oleksandr Syrsky, the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Both Volodymyr Zelensky, the president, and the commander were just visiting the Donetsk region recently. And once they got done from there, that's when Volodymyr Zelensky went back to Kiev and reported to the press that they had many dead and wounded on the battlefield, and they had to start looking for peace here very soon. So we know the Ukrainians are running out of men. They can no longer continue to fight this war, and we continue to see this every single day when we get reports like this, where they're having to pull back, just like here in Chasiv Yar. And again, this is a very key city for the Russians to take. So if they end up taking this, Ukraine's going to have some very big problems there with those other big cities that are nearby. So, yeah, that's going to be it for this update, though. I hope you did get something out of this. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.